Hello. Hello. Yes. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. I'm screaming. It's not even. Oh, comfortable, we can move everything. How is it? How is yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was in that room. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, so they're almost here. Of course. It's good our bed, like. Right. Yeah, so we were able to. 2 months later, it was all down here. They had done it early. You're almost there. Oh, that was PSC. That was yeah. So that. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We built everything. So.对不起，对不起，知道是啥啥事，没有别的，现在在这儿。Yeah, that's why we yeah. Beginning. One minute. Yeah.这个好像不是 ，sorry。这个里面没有。Do it the tap the more tap stick there. Yeah. Tape tap tape. No, not already. 切两个兔子的主要
监控的点贴这儿。Yeah. Yeah, and
Turn it on. No.
you know,
Testing.
Dave, yeah, just. Oh, I need to ask them.
He told me he was coming.
Okay, but yeah, but he's in the afternoon, I think.
He's before lunch.
No, after. Oh,
Oh, no, the
oh,
meditation.
the meditation, right. I'm gonna ask AI for preparing one. Yeah.
Otherwise, we can eat for the 10 minutes.
Mm.
I'm ready to start whenever you are ready to start. Okay.
Free world. Three worlds. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna starting share the presentation. Desk, top, desk. Yeah. Um. Oh. Sharing desktop too. New. Yes. Here.
If you're just coming in, if you want to put a name tag on, write your name on the thing and stick it on your shirt.
On the screen.
We have the seats up here, seats in the back. Yes, that's the best seat.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Let's start.
All right, welcome. You want to keep coming in and finding a seat? This is our event on public goods and Web3. We're excited to have a diverse group of speakers and participants gathered here and online to collaborate, brainstorm, and learn about how we can collectively contribute to public goods in both Web3 and our world. Today's event is about learning from diverse experiences, sharing ideas, and building new connections. We hope you'll leave here inspired and energized with ways you can get involved and contribute to the space using your unique skills and passions. Together, we can all work towards making our world better. Before we dive in, we're going to do some introductions. I'm Lauralee, and I'm interested in Web3 and blockchain because of how it can empower agency and inclusion. impacting a lot of different challenges our world is facing. I've just finished my master's degree in blockchain and digital currency, and I'm looking forward to getting more involved in this space. I'm excited about public goods and this event because it includes many different perspectives, a chance for different builders and communities to get to know each other and all get together to hope for a better world.
Yeah. Okay. Next me, and my name is Link, and me and Laurie are gonna be the moderator for today's event. I'm the core contributor of Forces. Forces is basically Forces Chiang Mai is having this infrastructure. So for this time, we want to have this public goods event because we're now closing to the DevCon, and I think most of us know there's a project is a road to DevCon. I think this is a time to interact with each other and to talk about how we can active the whole Chiang Mai builders and contributors together. By the way, I joined this community. The Forces is a community. I joined here 1 year ago, and until now, I think it's really started, and I'm so excited. And have a quick introduce about the stuff. There is the toilet. Here is a translation. You can see the screen, and speakers can sit here. Everyone can casually and chill sitting here or there, everywhere. If you don't like the seat you're sitting there, you can move the chairs and sofa to anywhere you like. Yeah. So hope everyone have a good experience today. Too early. And next, I want to introduce our contributors behind this event, because we are preparing really a lot of things. And for today, we invited a lot of speakers to talking about the public goods. And there is she, the bullhead, and she is our designer and designed the poster and a lot of the stickers and other things. So, and he also helped us to checking and a lot of things. Another Zeke helped us prepare some special things you're gonna know later. Anyway, and online we have a lot of contributors online, and they helped us to connect with all the audience and the speakers. So thanks for everyone. This is a public goods event. I think it should I have the thanks at the first. Yeah. So next.
To start, we're going to briefly talk about what is meant by public goods. Traditionally, public goods are services or products that are non-rivalrous or rivalrous and non-excludable. This means that one person's use of the good does not reduce the availability to others, and it's difficult or impossible to exclude anyone from using it. The classic examples include national defense, clean air, and public parks. In the context of Web3, public goods include open source software, decentralized infrastructure, and community governance frameworks. These resources benefit everyone in the ecosystem and require collective effort to build and maintain. Supporting public goods has become a key part of the Ethereum ethos, reflecting the importance of fostering resources that benefit the society as a whole. These digital public goods are essential for the smooth functioning and growth of the Web3 ecosystem.
Yeah, and why Chiang Mai? I think Chiang Mai is another big influence element is I think for now, Chiang Mai has more and more become the hub of the digital nomads, also crypto nomads. And from all these people are from all around the world, in vibrant community, affordable living and beautiful surrounding. If you don't have walk around this place, you can see it's so beautiful everywhere. And yeah, the city blend of traditional culture and modern ambitions creates a unique environment that foster creative and the connection. So with the region building up in the anticipation, the Ethereum Global DevCon event, you can see the poster here. We applied for the Road to DevCon and going to happen in this November in Bangkok. It's clear that the part of the world is become the significant hub for the blockchain and the Web3 activities. So DevCon is a major gathering of the developers, researchers, and from around the world who come together to share knowledge. So showcase the project and discuss about the future, who come together and show the knowledge. So I think this is a good time point. Let's start this event. But for now, this session is actually a warm-up session. So we don't want this can be totally a conference. It's like the speakers coming and speak to others. We want everyone can join the whole processing like an interactive event. So Lord, also for this session, we want everyone can, some of us can introduce yourself and yeah, Lori.
All right. No. Oh, sorry. Okay, so I want you to just turn to the people you're around. And I want you to discuss how you would define or what you think these terms mean, both Web3 and public goods in Web3, and come up with some examples. So we'll give you about 5 minutes. It's a chance to introduce yourself to people. They've got name tags. Ask them, what do you think? What does Web3 mean to you? Public goods. And are there some examples of digital public goods?
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. No, it's fine. It's just 5 minutes.
Just
Okay. I wanted to know if we could get 5 volunteers, maybe the 5 most extroverted, to tell us their name and why they're here at this event and why they love Chiang Mai. Are there 5 people who would be willing to name why you're here and why you love Chiang Mai?
Sorry, my leg hurts. Okay. Hey, my name is Chen, and actually, we are a pretty small startup from Shanghai, and we just moved here. No, not moved here. We traveled here like 3 days ago for the first time, actually, in the city, in the country also. But I'm not sure, but I think we are probably the only group that's not doing Web3 at the moment. We actually are startup still in the Web2. We actually working on something file transferring, file storage, because this is kind of a business, and but we're pretty interested in how can we convert our services and the product into Web3, and so that's why we here. And
How long? How long is it be here in Chiang Mai?
3 days.
3 days.
Today is only 3 days.
Yeah. And the last question is, what's your favorite food?
Um, all sort of curry. Yeah.
What?
All sort of curry. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we have three questions is, what brings you to the event, and how long you have been in Chiang Mai? Another is, what is your favorite food? I think it's the last question is a good question.
Okay. So pretty nice to meet you guys. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Anyone want to?
Okay, next volunteer. Oh, wait.
Okay, I'm James. So I've been in Chiang Mai for 1.5 months so far, and this is my third time in Chiang Mai. I love Chiang Mai because I'm also a digital nomad. I previously did my DeFi startup. I'm now preparing my next DeFi startup again. So why in Chiang Mai about Thai food is maybe you know it's called Gao Lao Luk Mu.
Gao Lao. What?
Gao is a kind of like soup, clear soup, but with some organs of pork, but without some noodles. If you know, yeah, it's not a commonly known for outside people and outside Thailand people, but it's really good. You should try.
Wow.
Okay.
This is the longest now. Be more longer you stay in Chiang Mai.
Yeah. 3 more people. Anyone longer? I never go.
Hi everyone, my name is Nobu. I've been in Chiang Mai for 2 years now. I just came here because I didn't like the West anymore, and I love it here now. And I want to stay forever.
Wow.
Um, favorite food. I like the spicy chicken on rice. The Khao Yam guy said that's my favorite food. Yeah.
Wow. We have this food today.
Okay, 2 more. Anyone else from over here? Anyone longer than 2 years? All right.
Well, yeah, I've been here for 20 years,
Wow.
which should give you an idea of a player. Yeah, I'm 22. And to my great shame, I don't speak Thai. But yeah, I'm married here, Thai wife, Thai kids, and so, but I work a lot and I travel a lot, so I'm not really a local either. When I'm here, I don't want to see anybody. Because yeah, this is my hideaway, so I'm not exactly like a local person either. But it's a great place to live. As for my favorite food, my wife always orders for me when I'm in the restaurant, like every time. But you probably know that Lana is different from the rest of Thailand. And so let me recommend Northern Mix. It's like a hors d'oeuvre that you eat before you start with like different sausages that very hard to find anywhere else. It's yeah, it's different food from Thai food actually.
What's that food?
It's like a northern Thai mix. So you get yeah, it's very different, the appetizers. All right, one more.
You are sharing. Yeah. That's
Why I love Chiang Mai?
How long have you been here?
Well, I just crossed, actually, I'm exactly at 2 years. I moved here 2 years ago in June, July. It feels like a long time though, because in my life, I've never stayed more than 2 years in one city in the last 12 years. So this is actually a new record, like a very recent record for me. I'm very proud of. And I think that says something about, I think the community of Chiang Mai, like finding people that I feel I connect with on a human level as well as a mind level, people interested in the intersections of technology and politics and society, as well as people who want to sort of think about life on a more holistic level, living a balanced life, eating well, living close to nature. I think Chiang Mai provides a lot of this sort of reminders of when we're building technology, we're building public goods, digital goods that people can use. It's a reminder of why are we building any of this? What is it all for? And connecting that to sort of living and connecting that to the human level, which is I think what Chiang Mai, whether we want it or not, it's there to provide a nice reminder. So I'll talk a little bit more of that in the afternoon, I guess. But yeah, that's why I love Chiang Mai.
Wow, amazing. And
We need one more here
one more.
One.
Okay.
for sharing. Black shirt.
Yeah.
All right, as we go through the event, now that you know 5 people, keep introducing each other, introducing yourself to each other. A big part of the benefit from this event is going to be how we can learn and make more connections.
Yeah. So during the everyone to sign up for this event, I mentioned all us are from different country, region, and stay different places. So I wanted to ask some question. Can hands up for that? So how many people are Thai local here for today's event? I hope we listen. I mean local Thai. Thai people. Wow, you, wow, amazing. What I really want to ask, how do you know this event?
My friends told me. My advisor just told us like to come here because it's probably like about our project because we already did the project about NFT marketplace. So I think it's all about Web3. So I just came here to find like what we're gonna get from this event. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, find a good event. Yeah, so now I think we need to introduce for the sponsors and the co-host community after behind this event. They are really important to us. Yeah. So first is Panda. Panda is a super new community and it's a Chinese Ethereum community platform dedicated to supporting and promoting Ethereum related projects and activities. So they're doing a lot of things, and they for this event they directly support us some the US dollars, and we can post everything, all these things. And another LX DAO. So it's a research and development focused decentralized autonomous organization. It's a DAO, and they're the most decentralized DAO I ever seen, and they do a lot of development for the public goods. And next is the CMBA. Ooh, let's see how many people from CMU, Chiang Mai University here. It's definitely a lot. Thanks to Jason Joey is a chairperson of the Chiang Mai University Blockchain Association. This is a new association and wanted to nurture talent, exploring blockchain and improve Asia well-being by blockchain. Super thanks for the CMUBA for this side. Other is Pagoda. We have a lot of speakers from Pagoda today. So it's an initiative composed of the founders, developers, ecosystem, leaders, and community organizers with the Ethereum ecosystems. For last time, where the very first event of the Pagoda is the community leaders, Ethereum leaders are coming from 14 countries gathering together here and to talking about our Asian narrative and how we what's the difference and how to make the circulation during all this community. Yeah, that's really eh, how can I say amazing? Yeah. So you're gonna know pagoda later. So this is the last time I picture of the pagoda. I have so many exciting moments. You can see everyone is smiling. I took the photo, but every picture of them, everyone is smiling. So the pagoda basically is a sign for like around whole Asia. There is a maybe their name is not pagoda, but it seems the shape looks like a pagoda. So yeah, if you go outside and see there is a there's what in the mountain, super beautiful. And thanks to the DevCon, the Southeast Asia, because if we don't have the DevCon here, it's hardly to active the local environment and the Web3 vibe. So, and we want to, how do you say, just introduce you the DevCon later. And yeah, I hope we can meet in the DevCon at Bangkok in this November. Yeah. So this is DevCon. And finally, for Cs, thanks for myself. It's a little weird, but I put some pictures here. They are all the place in this area, and you can see we host there are a lot of event related to Web3 and public goods happening here. Especially in last year, we have a One Motopia, and some the contributors are here and gathering a lot of the builders from China and from Western coming together to build for the collaboration between all these communities. Yeah, and Forces actually is we aim to do the startup societies, but for now at least we have the infrastructure and we promote this kind of the event. We want to gathering the people together and building in commons. Not only here, but we want to promote the things happen. Yeah, that's all we want to thanks. And for warm up, this is kind of the last second session is welcome Dave. Where's Dave? Dave, we want to have a meditation, quickly meditation for like everyone can be calm and deep pressure and be chill and enjoy this more than 6 hours sharing event. Yeah, so give my.
All right. Thank you, Dick. Thank you for the wonderful introductions, Laurelie and Dick. Before we get started, we wanted to do a short meditation. We do things differently here in Thailand and in Chiang Mai from your average tech public goods workshop. So I'll ask everyone to firstly, do you need, you can hear me at the back? All right, I'll try to use the mic and I'll just speak. So if everyone get comfortable, just on your posture, sitting uncomfortably, it's fine to come to the spot. And if you like, I invite you to all close your eyes. Keep your hands wherever you're comfortable. You can put them on your lap, hold them. And you take 3 deep breaths with me. 1, breathe in. And out. And breathe out in your mouth if you like. And deep breath. Notice the your back, your legs, your neck, right? Just get comfortable. And let's draw a circle in this space. A circle that connects all of us. Let's set an intention today that we come here, share our work, share our research, share things that we want to share with everybody. In the spirit of interconnectedness. And this one common that includes humans, nature, planet, and all beings. Keep breathing. Relax your shoulder. Relax your belly, stomach. Relax your face. Wherever thoughts that are rising, allow them to come through the breath to clean them up. Whatever thoughts you have about what you need to do today, what you want to get from today, let them come, let them go. Bring it back to the breath. Listen to the sound of the birds in this beautiful mountain view across. Just for now, there's nowhere else you need to go. Nothing you need to do. Here. Everybody in this place. We have new friends, old friends. And today we come in this space again as one common that's in Thailand, in Buddhist tradition. There's something called metta, it's love and kindness, everybody around you. So let us just express and feel into the gratitude to the organizers today, from 4C, from all our partners that sponsored and made this event happen. Let's express some gratitude to them for just making this event possible. Let's express gratitude to everybody who came there, who decided to spend your Sunday this lovely Chiang Mai here to listen and to share. Let's try everything that we say and everything that we do to guide us in the spirit of making a better world for all people. So, take another deep breath. Open your eyes. And smile. Nothing to be nervous about. Let's have a wonderful day of sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. The first background thing is ready, I think.
Yeah, because for today's schedule is a little tight. And it started from the morning actually. So we prepared lunch for everyone. So we prepared pizza, a lot of pizza. Yeah, last year event is a pizza day. So we think that for some event related to Web3 is pizza is a good choice. But yeah, pick a pizza and to talk with each other and to know each other. And let's go and get a pizza. I just yeah, and we all get the a sticker, but it's in different style. So basically, we have 4 or 5 kind of stickers. Um, um, because today we have more than 50 attendees, so we split into 5 groups. You can talk casually with everyone, or you can talk with the people with the same stickers as you. That's gonna be a good start, and let's fill our stomach and prepare to the the starting of the event, right? Yeah, pizza time.
You have some your favorite movie.
Favorite movie?
Music.
Music. Yeah. Where's the music guy? We have a music guy. I go there 2 hours and then I have 6 hours. I think. Then I do that. Yeah, because we prepared dinner. We didn't tell them.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, that's the. Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, because people should like flew this here. Oh, yeah. I just learned from Pagoda, but I didn't think I do well, but I try my best. I copy the Pagoda, but in one day. How fair? Okay. Oh, yeah. Did we start with meditation? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you can pick one speaker, and of course we have 5 times. 中国人，这个有那种贴纸，然后因为那个大家交谈的时候可能人太多就不太方便，所以就是选一个可以和这个贴纸一样的人。对对对。隐形的日程安排。对，就是没有学生，所以就一个一个来。你打出来这个好听。对，每个就是这个是等会儿会有用。Corporate. 啊，我们可以这个跟他们合作了2次了。上次 Pizza Day 我yeah 啊，Dali yeah a lot of people from Dali actually here. All these skills are learning from Pagoda, but it's the first try, and I always
No, it's not. It's actually a private. It's here for being.
usually. What do you
刚顺利吗？比较晚一点的。
还不错，就是时间控制也还行。就是太不错了。我这个老师们刚才给这个10分钟的 meditation 做的最上餐就是因为这个老师起来迟了2个小时。
你怎么想到要让在现代一点？
就是还是从马高大学的，就是我上这个大学的路上，就是得有足够的节气，我买的，然后再开始这个分享要但今天需要有交流，然后最后相当于有这个精神这个结果，看谁能走到最后。对，其实是中国的那个。我比较传统肉夹馍，但是昨天这几天去买面粉现做。对，我不知道今天能做出来的。
顺利吗？
辛苦了，辛苦了，我觉得今就是再怎么做。
那我可以拿新的链子。
No, I
哦，
这个是一个麦克风终端，然后接到电脑上，再投一个，太烦了！我早上那个我声音有点最麻烦。你刚才讲，然后这个不要太多了。哎呦！
Hello? If I can have your attention for a moment. Link is setting our idea over here. And so we're talking all of the events. If you have different ideas that are fine with the speakers, you could, there's other, yeah, that thing. There's speakers, and then on the top, we have an idea, like a project idea, and then on the right side, we have impact. So this is there's impact that you're seeing a need for. Maybe you don't have the idea, but you know the result, the impact you want. And on the bottom, we have, thank you. Okay. And then we have question, or is different challenges specifically that you're seeing with them. And then on the left is sustainability or funding, or how this is going to continue to, how it's going to start and how it's going to be able to maintain the team. So as you have a thought, an idea during the event at any point, you can go over there and put a sticky note and write your thing. Top's the idea. Impact it's going to make. The bottom is a question or a challenge. And then there's the funding, sustainability, ideas. Thank you. We're good. Okay. We've got about 5 minutes, and so we're gonna start with our first speaker, so finish up your lunch.
And hello, and for the interactive board, you can scan the QR code. We have a digital one online, and this also our like online speakers can join our interactive. Yeah, so scan the QR code. And if you need to using toilet, we have the first floor, we have the toilet, and second floor, third floor, we have the toilets. If you need to using, you can using each one, yeah. 1到3楼都有厕所，如果大家要用的话，可以用。喂，鸡蛋可以听得清吗？
可以有一点点卡顿，我的声音能听得清吗？
可以。
哦，那应该没什么问题。
OK， 你听我这儿不吵吧？有没有吵？或者是
就是
杂音
你站在这，你站在你现在位置的时候，就是不太吵，但是如果你再往后推一点，就会有点，
我站这儿会有点吵。
就是
啊
没有，这里也还好，就是会没有像你站那么近那么清晰。
OK，行，那感谢。然后我们
OK，
准备开始了。
好的。
Where everyone? And we have a Telegram group for road to Deadpool at Humai. And this is a topic group. If you are interested about the topic we are talking today, and we are coming to scan the QR code and join the group if you are not in there. If you start, you can see it here. And do you want to write?
Oh, that's cool.
I need to call them. Sorry.
No, I will, as soon as you're ready. There's this one's not, oh, there's still a bunch of pizza, so we're gonna start soon, but if you would like to grab a bunch more pizza, you're welcome to continue to eat while we listen.
Oh, we need.
You told people outside, like.
Yeah, I already called them. Five. I mean, myself. Five.
They'll come in when we start. Are you ready to start now before?
Yeah. I will. I'm good.
I don't know, this at some point to show my my Substack.
Yeah.
So it's
It's available.
fourth civilization. I can write it for you.
Yeah, I know. Where is your
Yeah.
Substack? Of course, I know. You're the only Substack I read, you know.
All right, as we're,
Then the one where my last article on mutual coordination.
we've got the speakers, so we're gonna have to get moving.
I
Bathrooms, water, pizza. And if there's anything else you guys need, feel free to ask questions. We're gonna kind of go through chunks of speakers. There will be a break in the middle of the afternoon, but there won't be breaks between each speaker. So, our first speaker is Michelle Bowens. Did I say that right? Bowens?
Yeah.
Okay, the founder of the P2P Foundation. This network explores the impact of peer-to-peer and commons dynamics during our time of civilization transition. Michelle's work delves into the importance of collaborative practices and community-driven initiatives in shaping our future. So we're gonna have time for questions after his talk. So if you want to take notes or be thinking about what you want to ask him as he finishes. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about my mic. Okay. Yes, I'm really happy to be invited here. I've been living, as I said an hour ago, I've been living here for 20 years. I have a Thai family, 4 kids, anyway. So I am lucky enough to be able to spend my time half a day on research and curation, meaning I have time to read and curation of what I use Twitter, Facebook, basically to dispatch things that I think people should know about. You might know, because if everybody forgets about me, they might remember that Satoshi actually wrote his white paper on our main group on the P2P Foundation in 2009. And apparently, I'm the first person to tweet about Bitcoin. So if anyone can help me make an NFT out of it, that would be great. That would be maybe bring some more income. Anyways, I want to start with just an anecdote to maybe give you a feeling of why the stuff I'm talking about might be important. So I was visiting a small city in France called Limoges. And I had a local guide, and he, I was just walking around. He wanted to show me the city, and he said, "Oh wait, this house, is, let's say, the union headquarters." But then he said, "And 20 years ago it was that, and 40 years ago it was that." So why is this important? Because culture, that's what it does, right? If you don't have culture, I was just seeing a house and bricks. But because this guy had profound knowledge of the local culture, it's like this whole virtual world opened up, right? That I could see the layers and layers of history when I was looking at the same city. And so in that sense, I think that knowing civilizational history is a bit similar. It will give you like layers of patterning that can help you understand the present and the future. And I would argue the more you look at the past, the more confident you are to look at the future. Because I think one of the problems we have today, and I'm not sure it's the case in Asia, but certainly the case in Western Europe, like kids are not learning history, geography. We call it presentism, right? The only thing you know about is what is happening right now in front of your face, and your consciousness is very narrow because you have no idea. And especially if you're developers, with all respect for developers, of course, but you tend to be educated into computer science, maybe game theory, and Austrian economics. And for many developers, this is your world. And this is like the reality and your way of interpreting the reality. I'm not saying that's wrong by itself. I'm just saying it's quite narrow to see the world in only those terms. And so I think it's good. So I dream of this, like I call it the school for Renaissance technologists, where we would actually teach technical people about more holistic and integrative understandings of the history of the world. I think that's a real necessity. Also, if you want to intervene in the world to know better how it works. All right. Maybe a second anecdote. This is a book I read in my 20s. It's called Man in Search of Meaning. It's from Viktor Frankl, and he is a survivor of the concentration camps. And you may not like what he said, but I'll say it anyway. He said only two kinds of people survived: the communists and the Catholics. So why was this? It's basically about vertical and horizontal transcendence, right? So if you live in a world where there's no hope, where everything is pretty horrible, if you don't have anything else to see, you're not going to survive, because the universe is constituted of meaning. If you don't have meaning, we die. Right now we have deaths of despair in the West, which is very, very high. And we had the same at the end of the Soviet Union in the 90s. So, countries where people don't see hope, they literally kill themselves, a lot of people, right? So either vertical transcendence means, religion, spirituality, like connect to you with something else than what's surround you, but might be real. Or horizontal transcendence, meaning have a sense of time that's long enough to sustain hope, right? So it's, especially if you live in a time where a lot of things are not going very well. So the capacity to see through time, to see time in a cyclic way, so that, okay, now we are in a descending phase. We're going to have a transition, but after transition, something new is coming. So that's kind of a horizontal transcendence. And basically, that's what I'm trying to do, right? I'm not very good at the vertical one, so I focus on the horizontal one. All right. So this is the first point I want to make, that everything in the natural and the human world is based on cycles, right? The day and the night, the cycle of the moon, atoms oscillate, molecules oscillate, cells oscillate, but very importantly, human societies oscillate as well, right? So every civilization until today has collapsed. Everyone, there's no exception. So that means that human societies and human civilizations are subject to periods of ascendance. They reach a peak. There's periods of descendance, like they decline, and eventually they enter in time of crisis, right? So this is very important. Just to give you like a few examples, so there is a generative cycle, which is an economic cycle. It's about 50 years. Then again, you have an upward cycle. Let's say the one after World War II, right? Then 73 is the peak and the peak crisis. And then we have 80s and 90s, a lower growth cycle. And then 2008 would be like the end of that cycle. So that means that we're looking for a new way to find new energy sources, new ways of management, new ways of treating the land, like a new economic system that really fits together and can create a new growth cycle. Now, there's another cycle you may have heard about, which is very popular right now. It's called the fourth turning. So this is a civic cycle where, again, I'll take the example after World War I. So after World War I, you have the first turning, which means everybody's enthusiastic rebuilding society. But already in 68, you have a generation that is not happy with that, right? So that's the second turning. You have a kind of youth rebellion that emerges within this civic cycle. The third one is when both sides are equally strong. And then the last cycle, the fourth turning, is when the old can no longer defend itself and clearly you need something new. So you can see that the civic cycle means basically that there's a loss of trust in institutions. You're aware of the US where maybe 15% of people still trust the Congress and the press, right? This is the absolute low ebb of trust in civic institutions. So why is this important? Because each cycle has its own problem, right? So then another one, which is a similar duration, is the hegemonic cycle. So China is getting stronger, US is getting weaker, very, very dangerous. It's called the Thucydides trap, right? Where the civilization which is in decline feels that it has to really do something aggressive to keep its hegemony. Very dangerous times. And usually there is a big war every 100 years. And then there's a new hegemony. So within the Western cycle, you had the Dutch, the Portuguese, the British twice, 200 years, and then the Americans in the last century, right? So these are hegemonic cycles. There are longer cycles. Let me briefly talk about this. So some people like Spengler, they think the civilization cycle is about 1,000 years. So the first 500 years, you have basically city-states emerging. And they start fighting each other. They start exhausting each other. And at the end of the 500 years, you can see this in Greece. You can see this probably in China with the Warring States period. You have some more peripheral player. It's usually barbarians that take over civilization space, like Alexander in Macedonia took over Greece, Rome took over the whole Hellenistic space, etc., right? So this is 500 years of decentralized city-states and then 500 years of empire. Okay, now I come to the real subject, which I think there's a 5,000-year cycle that we're reaching right now. And so that makes it a very challenging transition. So until 5,000 years ago, how did we exchange value? Well, we were living in tribal and kinship-based arrangements. And so we call this gifting and commoning. So gifting is when I give something to Laurelie, paradoxically, Laurelie will feel that she has to give me something back. It's a paradox, right? I give to you, and actually the gift itself creates inequality. So imagine different villages, and in order to keep the peace, they give to each other, right? They have big festivals and they actually compete in gifting, like the Indians of North America is called the potlatch. Commoning is the other way, which is you exchange with the whole. So think about a hunter or a gatherer coming back to their tribe. They have, catch a big beast. They're not selling it. It's for the family. And then there is a rule how to divide it in the family, right? Think about the Amish. When a young couple marries, all the Amish people will build your house, right? Doesn't mean that this young couple has to give something back. What they have to do is when another young couple marries, and they will also have to build that house, right? So this is called commoning, and it's what you do when you do open source software. When you do open source software, you contribute to a whole. And you may or may not get paid for it. Hopefully you get paid for it, but a lot of people, about 25% don't get paid for it. And they still do it because it's good for them, right? Give a brick, get a house. So you can see I'm slowly coming to the idea of public goods, right? So what happened 5,000 years ago is that, well, there was a brief period, you might know about this, Minoa, Harappa, where you see advanced civilizations without any defense, no walls, no fortresses. And then that ends, and from that moment on, we have basically military-based civilizations, right? And states and markets become the norm. So that started about 5,000 years ago. So we went from gifting, commoning in tribal environments to markets and states in competing civilizations, empires, nation states, etc. So what if I tell you, this is my big thesis, you don't have to believe me, of course, is that we are now at a shift where we're going to peer-to-peer based, commons-based mutual coordination. Maybe you can show my article in my Substack where I try to document it. So let me give you an example that might be very boring, but it's accounting, right? 5,000 years ago, more or less, they find a piece of stone, right, in Mesopotamia. That is the first ledger in history that they can find. And basically, it's a temple that counts the rice coming in and going out. Because the rice gets bad, so every year you lose a bit of your value on that ledger. And so the invention of accounting is the invention of the state, right? So you get organizations like these temple civilizations that stand outside the people and control the resources of the people. You get professional armies, you get different classes. So this is a really big change based on accounting, right? Then in the 15th century, we have a Franciscan monk, Lucia Pacioli, I think his name is. And of course, he was inspired by Chinese and Islamic predecessors. But basically, he synthesized the first private accounting, which we call double entry accounting. So why is that important? Because that's the birth of fully fledged capitalism, right? So first accounting, we invent the state, and then in the 14th century, for the first time, we get market-dominated societies. There were markets before, but they never dominated society. So like in China, the mandarins were in charge, not the traders, right? So the first time you have society where the traders are in charge is it like or maybe Phoenicia before, but the Italian city-states is a very good example. And that eventually becomes, our current society. So if we look at change, we have to look at seed forms. So when you're in a descending phase, that means that the old is no longer functioning, right? That means that people will either leave the system and have what I call anticipatory consciousness. So you know the thing is not working anymore and you look for solutions, like monks leaving the city and creating new types of communities. And by the time the city is collapsed, there's already seed forms ready, right? So people leave the system, and depending on the amount of seed forms that already exist, that creates a smoother or not so smooth transition. So you have to look at seed forms. For example, if you would look at the 14th century, you would see purgatory, like before purgatory, you know what it is, right? So if you're a Christian, or at least a Catholic, you have basically paradise, the heaven, but you have purgatory, right? So before purgatory, Christians, Jewish people, Muslim people could not lend money for money. It was forbidden to ask for interest. If you did so, you go to hell. And lo and behold, we invent something in the 14th century which allows people to lend money and then give money to the church. It's called indulgences. And then you would not go to hell. You would go only to purgatory. But you can see why this is an important ideological hack, because it allows merchants to have a place in society and, you know, and be recognized, right? So think about the printing press as another seed form. So suddenly we can rapidly diffuse knowledge faster than the existing institutions can suppress it. So you get the Reformation and all kinds of new things. And double entry accounting. Okay, so now I jump to today. We cannot underestimate the value of a universal ledger, right? A universal ledger is a real revolution. It's a profound infrastructural revolution, because as long as you do double entry accounting, you cannot see your impact. You can see what you do. I'm making more profits, I'm making more capital, or I'm losing, right? But you have absolutely no view of the world. There's no ecology, there's no social impact. There's only the money you are making. So in a way, it's very narcissistic accounting. What happens when you have a universal ledger is that completely changes. Now, if you join a 3D ledger, every transaction tells you where you are in the ecosystem, right? And for the moment, it's a financial ecosystem. But that's already a big advance. So anything you do when you join a DAO or that of an open source ecosystem is you are seeing what you're doing to the ecosystem. So this is a real cultural revolution, and it has generated important advances in accounting. I'll just mention three briefly. The first one is called contributory accounting. So this was a bit before the crypto world. So basically, contributory accounting is some people in open source get paid because they're interfacing with the market. Some other people are doing the core, the public goods part, and they were not paid, right? So a lot of communities started inventing mechanisms to pay people who were in the core. It didn't work very well, but that was the first phase. And I think this is where crypto comes in. So the first phase of open source, what did it achieve? The mutual coordination of labor at a global scale, outside domination of markets and states, right? We couldn't do this before. If you wanted to do something big, you needed a multinational or a big state. Today we have something new. So I call it fourth sector organization. Like DAOs. Why are they so special? Because what a DAO does, it allows market transactions. It allows intervention by public players if they want to. It allows NGOs and voluntary contributions. And it allows permissionless contribution, which is the typical thing of open source. So suddenly we have a type of organization which is meta-integrated, right? Which doesn't abolish the market, doesn't abolish the state, doesn't abolish NGOs, supercharges contributions, right? And so let me now come back to the 5,000-year shift, because this is, I think, what we should understand. So 5,000 years ago, empires were stronger than tribes. So small was not beautiful. If you wanted to be strong, you had to centralize. You had to get bigger and bigger with some small. And this, in a way, is a tragedy for humanity, because we are actually designed to live in tribes, you know, to love people and to know our families. And so this became very, very difficult to do. You have basically to insert yourself in these large, anonymous, you know, huge cities and stuff like that. So commoning and gifting became marginal in terms of value production and exchange. And what we are doing now, that is my contention, is we are supercharging commoning and gifting, but especially commoning, right? Okay, so here's a way to look at history, and I call it the pulsation of the commons. So I go back to the cycles, right? So when markets and states function well, the commons-based institutions weaken. Now, I should tell you that before capitalism, the commons always survived. So, okay, this is European history, but probably our equivalents everywhere. So if you're a farmer in the Middle Ages, you have your own land for your family. You have to work for the Lord. You know, you have to give 50% of your produce to the warrior class, basically. But then you had common lands. I think in China, you had a system where you have these 9, you know, and one in the middle was a common for, yeah. So it's kind of a bit similar. But so this is the idea. So the commons was the regenerative and healing institution in imperial settings, right? But it gets weaker. So let's say you were Roman, you know, a Roman farmer, you were chased away from the land, but you come to Rome and you got bread and games, right? You had a welfare system. So the state gave you money and food. When Rome starts declining, you can't do that, right? So what people do then is they go back to their commons. So you can look at history as a pulsation of the commons. So when the state and market will function well, the commons weaken. When markets and states go down, the commons come up again. And this is very visible in dark ages. What is typical of a dark age is there's no market and state left. And there were 3 in China that I know of. So basically you have this civilization cycle and then you have a collapse, right? So what happens in the collapse is the return of monasteries, right? They're commons-based institutions. And let me explain to you why they're so effective. So first you have military congregations. So I don't know if you know about this, but Russia only exists because of the Cossacks. And the Cossacks were a military congregation that learned to defend the rivers. And so it could keep out the Mongols. Before that, you couldn't have a power in the middle of Eurasia because of the constant nomadic invasions. But once the congregation of the Cossacks defended the rivers, then Russia could consolidate, right? Think about Europe. By the 9th century, we were invaded by the Muslims in the south. The Vikings came from the north and the Avars came from the east, right? And the Teutonic Order and the Templars completely reversed our situation. So 300 years later, the Europeans are in the Middle East, right? Which is the opposite of before. So military congregations secure the land. They're followed by craft and agrarian institutions like the Cistercians and the Benedictines. And I'm sure there are equivalents in East Asia. And they bring back agriculture. Like there was no more food in the 5th century because the food came from Egypt and they lost Egypt. And they had wine and olive oil, but you can't live on that. So it's the Benedictines that restored agrarian productivity. So they regenerate the land. And finally, when they're rich enough, the cities come back. And who do you find the cities? The guilds. So why is a mutual organization so strong? Because all the surplus is reinvested in the system, right? There's no leakage. And so dark ages, paradoxically, there's a book about this called The Recurring Dark Ages, are regenerative periods. So you can count the pollen counts, and you see that these are periods where nature is restored, and it creates the conditions for a new civilization cycle. Okay, what's different today? This is very important. Now I'll come to the public goods in a moment. It's a long tunnel, but I'll get there. Okay, so today we have a situation where so there is an author, his name is Karl Polanyi, and he talks about the life cycle within capitalism. So Kondratiev goes well, high economic growth is good for the workers, reforms more high wages. You go down, the opposite happens, right? And so every 30 years, we have a social revolution, either a progressive one or a conservative one. So that's the lib lab, more liberal, more labor, more liberal, more labor. This is how we reformed over time, and that is no longer working. Why? Because the nation state no longer has power, right? So today we have, I call it a commons gap. So we have transnational finance, we have international states, but we have no institutions that are able to defend natural and human communities. So the commons institutions that we used to have, they no longer function at a local level. So that means we need trans-local, I call them cosmo-local forms of commoning. And so this is what you're doing. And if you realize that you're doing this, but this is what you're doing. Because so, okay, so open source creates the capacity to organize labor at a global scale, right? It integrates markets, but it's not fully dominated by any single market force. Crypto allows you to financialize this work. So now all the people who are doing core work, public goods, are now being able to be funded. And you do this through self-taxation and self-infrastructure, right? So this is historically very important because we couldn't do this before. That's why we needed the state. So the value system of capital is very simple. You create value through extraction, right? Regenerative work is not recognized. There's no value there. There's only value in extraction. You have to produce commodities, right? You have to be able to make something you can sell. Then you get a service. But if you're an individual entrepreneur, you're not going to solve common issues because that would be more expensive for you and you would lose the competitive game. So we need the state that's going to tax you and redistribute the funding. So the collective action problem is solved through the state, except in the case of crypto, right? Where for the first time we have global institutions, globally coordinated collective projects, which are taxing themselves in order to fund public goods. And so let me tell you why I don't like the public goods definition. First of all, I think it's confusing with the state, right? In a lot of people's minds, public means the state. And obviously that is not what you're doing, right? Then the second issue is, as you explained, you said goods that are non-excludable and non-rival, right? This restricts public goods to a very particular category. It doesn't have to. Let me give you an example. I just saw that yesterday and I thought this is really a great project. So if you live in Europe and the US, probably through the world, land is becoming too expensive. So if you're a young couple, you want to do eco farming, it's very difficult because you cannot find the capital to buy land, right? So this is a really big issue. Well, so I found this organization in France. It's called Milpa. And they guarantee 350 euro per acre income to the farmer. So how do they do that? By mutualizing. So they have like 20 places in different bioregions so that the weather is different, right? And so if you're a farmer and you have a bad year, let's say drought or flooding, you still get your 350 euros, right? And then the surplus is divided between this mutual organization and the farmers. So if they do well, they have to give part of their profit to the alliance of 20. But if they do badly, they're protected. And so suddenly a lot more people can do organic farming than before, right? So this is the power of mutualization. This is the power of putting things together. And this is where I probably stop here. But okay, I'll give you some moral advice, I guess. 5 minutes. Okay, that's just the time. So what I think needs to happen is the following. I think crypto is still a developer's culture, right? in many ways, you could say it's an exit strategy. So many people see that the world is not going well. So, okay, if I can be crypto developer, I can arbitrage nation states, right? If things go bad in China, I come to Chiang Mai. If things go bad in Chiang Mai, I go to Japan, right? And of course, a lot of capital is thinking the same way. Say, oh, if the fiat system collapses, I'll buy Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is like liquid gold. I can take it with me all over the world, right? This, I think, is insufficient because at some point, if things go really badly and you're perceived to be basically like parasites, right? Just coming in, having the good life where everybody else is not having the good life, you'll be targeted at some point. And I should remind you that at the end of the Roman Empire, there was no money, no Bitcoin, nothing. Just there was no money. Money lost its function. So I'm not saying this is going to happen, but who knows, right? Who knows? So I wrote an article in this in my Substack. It's called Crypto for Real. So one of the things, can you show my quadrant? You know the forward things. Or did you lost it already? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So the digital has created 4 scenarios. These are like 4 systems that are competing with each other. They're all there. They're all doing their thing. Global, centralized, for profit. This is of course Meta and the Googles and all of that, right? For profits, but this distributed, that's crypto, right? Here, global for benefit, non-profit, global open source. And here are the urban commons, so bi-regional commons. So I wrote a report about this for the city of Ghent. We went from 50 urban commons projects to 500 in 10 years. So people in cities are already today changing their behaviors. They're anticipating issues. So organic food collectives, housing co-ops, co-working, all of this is emerging in cities about involving 2-3% of population on average, right? So what's the problem? Crypto for real would mean that you move here as well, right? I think crypto as a mutual coordination technology should be used not just for financial, but for actual production. So for me, the next stage is for crypto people not to be nowheres, but to be everywheres, to be people who are connected to local productive communities, to organic farms, to these types of local initiatives, and to make them stronger than they are, because what you have and they don't have is this mutual coordination capacity on a global scale. So I'll end with this. So I call this cosmo-localism. There's a ghost or a spirit here, I think. So cosmo-localism means fully local and fully cosmic, right? So everything that's heavy is local, but everything that's light is global and shared. So it's combining local production with a global culture of cooperation and protocols of cooperation, all the stuff that I was doing. So I think this is the next frontier, not to stay with the financial, but to actually go into production. And when we achieve that, which I think we will, I include myself in this, I think then we are ready for the 5,000-year shift, right? A shift from market-state coordination, civilizational coordination, to post-civilizational coordination. And why can we say post-civilization? I'll stop with that. So 5,000 years ago, there was some kind of climate change event. I think it's more like 10,000 years ago. And so North Africa was drying up and Mesopotamia was swampifying, right? So the people who lived there, and they were practicing horticulture, not real agriculture yet. They said, if we don't master nature, we're dead. That's the beginning of civilization. And so the fundamental notion of civilization is the mastery of nature. I think personally that we are reaching the limit of that paradigm. right? So we need to develop ways of thinking that we are recognize our interdependency, our partnership with non-human beings. Now, just to finish with referencing the work of Austin Wade Smith and the Region Foundation, which I think is very interesting, is how to transform DAOs into sovereign nature entities where you can have a forest that's a DAO and where the non-human becomes visible to the human, right? So you have a planetary ledger which tells you the ecological state. So you know, as a human being in your co-op or your multinational, you know exactly what you're doing, what the effect is of your work on the natural world, right? And you can go up or down, but you know it, right? You know the impact. And I think this is basically the kind of future that I look forward to. I think that, you know, it's a very dangerous period. We might have war, more than one. We already have them, but I think, you know, really, really very dangerous period. But I think if we look further ahead, then we can be quite confident that actually you are part of the people building the seed forms for the next stage of human civilization. So we will go from a immature technosphere that destroys the biosphere to a mature technosphere that can live with the biosphere. And if we go through this funnel, I think we can live for millions of years as a human civilization, whatever we want to call. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We have time for a couple questions, if anyone has questions for Michelle. You, wonderful.
So, first of all, thank you for your presentation. I think I fully agree with what you're saying, and I think that resonates with what actually I've been thinking about. So, I have one question, which is so you said maybe in the next 1,000 years, the community will be a bit smaller, and like kind of the mutual community will evolve. So, for example, Japan, the food is you know like only 20 to 30% of the food is now produced within Japan, and they're making their life by doing like kind of like export and import. Do you think this kind of thing will change in the next maybe not I'm sure like 100 years or something? That is all the food production maybe within that a small area like physical area, so that the heavy things can be only traded within that territory or something like that.
So I don't know how fast this is going to go, but I do think we are in overreach, right? In planetary overreach. I don't know exactly, when this shifts and how rapid, but I think it's a time to start preparing for this kind of scenario anyway, right? It's like an insurance policy. So food sovereignty, industrial sovereignty, and I would use the word material subsidiarity. I don't know if you know the word subsidiarity means the lowest possible level is the best, right? Doesn't mean everything has to be local, but why should we import butter from New Zealand in a country which has its own butter, and then everything collapses in the country because of the cheap butter? It might have made sense in a certain point, but I don't think it makes sense today. I think it makes sense to be thinking really hard about certainly food sovereignty, but I would think reindustrialization, but on this new model of distributed manufacturing, right? So basically, imagine this: you have, and this already exists. There's a project called Arrival. They make vans and trucks. So you have they restricted the number of processes to make cars from 500 to 70 or something, right? So and then they have like a thing in the middle, and they can make trucks, vans for local cities on demand, right? With biocircular, biodegradable materials, and all the designs are online. So basically, you specify what you need as a city, and then they'll make it for you like this, without any mass marketing, without any mass consumption. You make what you need when you need it. So mutualization depends on how much leeway you have, right? If everything is in abundance, yeah, everybody can have a drill, right? And we know that we use a drill 8 minutes in our lifetime, right? In the current system. That's an enormous amount of waste. If things become less abundant, it makes sense to say, well, why don't we as a neighborhood, for example, mutualize car use? And this is being done in Ghent, in Belgium, where I did my study. So every shared car replaces 9 to 13 private cars. So without any loss of freedom of transportation, right? And this is not possible because of the digital, because we can now organize in detail who can use what when. So basically, you need only 10% of the cars, and that's like a double what you need actually, to guarantee full transportation freedom to people in a neighborhood where they practice this. So I'm not saying this is a solution for everyone, but I think these types of thinking are very important nowadays. And I don't know if you know the magazine called The Other Internet, which I really like. They talk about the squat culture, right? So basically, your generation, at least in the West, we cannot buy houses. We don't buy cars anymore. I'm old, but I'm talking about my generation. And so there is a strong motivation to mutualize, co-housing, co-working, these things, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense to think in that way. And in a way, crypto is squat culture globally organized, right? And the idea of like really scaling up small group dynamics. So you have Linux, 25,000 people, but the average team is 4. And these people really know and trust each other.
Thank you. All right.
Sorry, because we have,
We have 5 minutes.
I have a question here,
And I just want to say one more thing. So there's going to be HCT Lana, 10 October, 10 November. And I intend to do a seminar with 4 courses on these topics. So it's an introduction to civilizational history and transitions and different dynamics. So it'll be free for people, HCD and GCC probably, and maybe a small fee for others. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, I plan to do this 10 October, 10 November here in Shanghai. And with Ren, we're planning to do a book salon. We still need to discuss the details, but we're gonna read books together. Do like the women in the 18th century. Invite people to discuss, books that help us think in transition.
All right, you'll be here through the break, right? So if people have more questions, okay, yeah.
yeah, still need to. And we have stickers there, you can write on the board, and later we're gonna, have a review for all those questions. And wow, super good lecture. And next, our speaker is Singh. Yeah, Singh. Yeah. He's a culture
Entrepreneur.
Uh,
Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I want me to, okay, I can read it.
Sorry.
So- All right, he's a cultural entrepreneur and independent consultant based in Kuala Lumpur. Sam is passionate about how societies adopt new technology and ideas and how these concepts become part of our culture. He's particularly interested in human learning, exploring what makes us wiser and how we grow and transform. Sam also looks at the future of Southeast Asia and the world, considering global challenges and how technology, especially Web3, can improve our lives.
Don't really look that up, but thank you. I think I have some deck or something, so
Yeah,
look at that then. Okay, anyway, hi everyone. Hello, some familiar faces, some new. So I have a deck of slides, and it's gonna be a bit wordy for 2 reasons. One is that I know we have some people watching online and also a live translation, and I think for many people it's a second language. So I think the words will help to match up the stuff. Of course, the translation isn't perfect. The second reason is that some of the main ideas here are actually unpublished, so they're kind of new. So I haven't had the headspace to distill them down. So hopefully, like with today, I think we had breaks and conversations, maybe even dinner. We can chat about some of those things. I'm going to share a bunch of different ideas, premised upon this is an event for people interested in creating and building public goods. And but to do that, well, what are public goods? How do we think about them? And I think it's kind of I'm going to try. I want to do 5,000 years of history, as Michelle has done, right? But if Michelle has talked about 5,000 years of history and cycles, I'm going to talk about maybe the next 5,000 days, 5,000 hours. What's the now of the next? What are some of the design philosophies we can think about, and what kind of public goods we imagine, and why? All right. So what 20 minutes is what we have. Okay, just glare at me or something. Cool. Okay, let's go.
Shit, yeah.
Does it work? Okay. So I titled this tree world trees. So let's just start with what do I mean by a world tree? And it comes to the question, what is Web3 for? The things that we build, whether it's technology or systems, shape the worlds we live in. I think it's quite obvious. Our lives depend on steel and roads and water systems and the internet. So in some ways, like we talked a lot about building Web3, but actually what matters is what's the world that's created by all the things that we're building. And this could be hard technologies, but it could also be soft technologies, right? Like commenting an agreement, right? Ethereum is it more software or hardware agreement? It's all of those things, right? But collectively, they make up this world, right? So it's not just about public goods, but also their societal impact, right? Like I think again to Michelle's point about like a school for Renaissance technologies involves understanding not just the hard of technology and development, but also the soft, right? What's long history, deep history, like Gondratia, like Polanyi, some of those guys, but also like current thinking today. There's a lot of exciting thinking happening today in this space that maybe isn't recognized in academia, but that's a different story. So we'll talk about that later, right? So this is really about what world can we build by building, right? What are public goods for? What world can public goods help to create? So today's talk is going to be about three world trees in a way, and I'll do this talking about three what I call design philosophies. And so, what's a design philosophy, right? So you think of design as the thing or the system, right? The design pattern is the how, the model. So you can think about the design as, say, it's a Toyota Corolla. The design pattern is kind of like the format of the car, the internal combustion engine, the different modules and components for that. And the design philosophy is the why or the logic underlying it. And I'll use an example from food, but the point here is that the same design patterns, like a comments, like a cryptocurrency, like a DAO, depending on the philosophies, can lead to very different designs and different worlds. And I think that awareness is something that's really important as creators. Okay, so let's talk about design pattern. Vegetable protein. It could be from soy, gluten, from other kinds of things, right? You have two different design philosophies that we see today, right? Like you have food is fuel, kind of like very Silicon Valley developer kind of culture, right? And that creates this design pattern into this world, the solid protein bar, right? But if you have a design philosophy that's maybe a bit more like familiar with this part of the world, right, where meat is delicious, but you know, like in many cultures, it's also like this kind of like indulgence sort of thing to it. So like some Buddhists will abstain from meat part of the time. See, there's many different ethical reasons people abstain from meat, but it feels really yummy. So you create like almost like something that pretends to be roast pork, but it's not, right? And it creates a very different world. And if this is just one object, but imagine a world that was like taking the food as fuel to the logical extreme, right? Like there wouldn't be restaurants, right? You would have filling stations for people, it would be gas stacks and stuff like that. You probably have some old Asian people who remember real food going underground and forming like underground supper clubs with real durians and stuff like that, right? So that's the different philosophies using the same patterns to create very different designs and worlds. So today I'm going to talk about three ideas or kind of design philosophies in this sense. So The first is this idea of plurality. And it's not an idea I came up with, it's actually like the whole, there's a whole like book and website on it, even a conference that's coming up. So like some really interesting ideas. Highly recommend like looking it up. And so my summary of plurality is really this idea of digital democracy at a massive, massive scale, made possible because of collaboration technology, right? And what do those things mean? The idea of democracy has always been about the people decide, but what do the people want? What do they know? We have a room of about what 40, 50 people now, right? If we had to decide on lunch, like and we all care a lot about food, we probably wouldn't, like just have said everyone says pizza, right? But we have different preferences. And if you can imagine getting 10 people to decide where to go for lunch, right? How do you decide on things like where should we build the road? How much should we spend on taxes and all those kinds of things, right? It's really hard on the scale of 10. How do you do that at the scale of millions, billions? And his design philosophy is that with technology, we can actually design technology to make this kind of polling or input systems or consensus coordination possible. They've written a book about it, so I won't get into much detail, but this is my summary of what plurality design philosophy is. And I think it's important to recognize that plurality isn't the only kind of response to democracy not scaling, right? So in the plurality book, there's actually like a reference to the video game Civilization. In the new Civilization 6 expansion called Gathering Storm, they actually have 3 different ideologies or systems that they talk about, right? Okay, and I'll kind of summarize them here. Okay, my summary, not the video game and stuff, but I try to like make it consistent with this. Oops. Okay, so now it's clear that the democratic system we have today hasn't scaled or progressed as quickly as society has, right? People have joked about we're still using a system with electors, for example, designed for an age of like where communications travel at the speed of a horse. So you put some paper, votes, give them somebody, who would go on a horse, and you collect all these after some number of days, right? And the default reaction we see in the kind of like the institutional elite today is let's pretend it still works. We still have elections, we still have votes, right? So we have democracy, right? Except that academically, it's been proven that the outcomes and policies implemented today are actually very poorly aligned with what the actual people, if you actually poll them, actually want. And so in Civilization 6, you have like 3 kind of like ideologies. So if you've played Civilization, you're kind of the god or the leader of this civilization, and you can install different ideologies, operating systems, right? So in the older versions of the game, you can go from monarchy to feudalism to communism. You get the idea. And they've identified 3 kind of versions that are actually grounded in, I guess, today. So the first is the synthetic technocracy. Their words, not mine. And the thought process is basically democracy can make good decisions. There's too many people, it's too complicated. People don't know what they want. Experts know what people want. Nutrition scientists should decide what people eat, not people themselves, right? And experts can plan for all. And it's synthetic because experts can't decide for 6 billion people. There's too much data to process. The centralized communism tried, not goes hard. But with AI, maybe you can. Maybe you have AI that decides what the best meal for everybody should be. So that's kind of one view of it. Opposed to this, there's also corporate libertarianism, which is democracy is slow and broken. Companies, entrepreneurs are fast. We move fast, we break things, we can get things done. So why don't we just corporatize everything and let them do whatever we want, right? Very kind of like a widespread ideology today, right? Like very in some ways close roots to like some of the current crypto movement, right? But not without its problems, as many people have written about. And the third is where like kind of plurality sits, is this idea of digital democracy, which is that the problem isn't the idea of democracy itself, is that its scalability. And maybe with technologies, you can actually build systems to capture that, right? And there's a lot of people doing research around this. Yeah, there's actually a copy of the book here. So you can, very good library, over there. So lots of systems on this, like I think Glenn Weil, a lot of writers, they've written a whole book about different things, quadratic voting similar to many of you, stuff like that. So, okay, so that's kind of plurality in a nutshell. So really like the question of plurality is, can we design systems that actually still have things happen, have public goods being created based on input of the many? But how do you handle the information processing and coordination problem? Can you create spaces people can discuss and exchange ideas and all of those things? So the next idea, public. So this doesn't really have a book in the same way, but this brought a number of conversations happening this year, and some research onto the histories of Southeast Asia, a region that's been notoriously difficult to govern or to put in order. And the core idea of punk, in a way, is I think quite close to what Michelle was talking about earlier with what technologies like Bitcoin have been possible, which is, can you have technology without technocracy? Can we have the valued benefits of public goods without empires, authority, hierarchies, bureaucracies? If there's leaders, they're not leaders from the top, they're leaders from why there's a whole bunch of research and movements happening around this, right? So it's the idea of governance without governments. Can you achieve the outcomes of people agreeing to certain rules without needing some police or enforcer to do it? Can you have roads without rulers? We often remember a lot of big empires because of the infrastructure left behind, right? Roads from the Roman Empire, the Mongols connecting a lot of Asia, right? Belt and roads, one of the very big ambition that's been shared around, and like infrastructure is really powerful, but does it have to come with empire? And I think that's a question we're beginning to see that this unbundling actually is becoming possible. And why is this so important is that the visible social contract of governments today is that you need public goods, and we as governors or governments, we're the only way to get public goods. But if we could create public goods without needing governments, then you could obsolesce or make obsolete a lot of these would be like rulers.
Yeah.
So are these systems imaginable? We have examples, right? We've spoken about commons with a 5,000-year history. There's protocols that become a really interesting piece of research. We see the internet, how it was initially designed to be robust towards anyone quite breaking down, but in turn has created or at least enabled cultures before the corporate capture of the past 10 years, right? Many places for like where different kinds of self-governing or life-governing systems emerge, right? And of course, Ethereum, I think, without saying, has become a very strong example of that, right? Kind of highlight two examples that are a bit more local and a part of the recent research and thinking that some of us have been doing, right? That these are not just new technology ideas, they're actually old cultural traditions, right? Before the 15th century, when Europeans discovered this part of the world, right? The seas of Southeast Asia actually had a long history of being, in a way, quite open and flexible. There were some empires, but they were kind of like at most you had someone controlling 1/3 of the area, right? So it was still a very decentralized kind of area, and there's traditions in there. A lot of the deeper culture, history, and law of Southeast Asia actually has this kind of sensibility, right? That like it's a space that's designed for or almost friendly towards the newcomer, that you can adapt into a culture, and there's this openness that's not about one central quality. And there's also like the idea of a lot of the pictures you get of Southeast Asia, right, are the rice terraces and the rice mountains, and that's a lot of work and there's a lot of crazy outcomes, right? But how do you coordinate society to cut canals, flowing water down the mountain? And water is really hard to pump. This is before pumping. You have to design the canals. So technically, it's a really big challenge. But politically, how do you get farmers whose livelihood depends on the rice they grow to agree to sharing water, right? And I think this region has a really powerful history of doing those things, right? You have traditions in places like Chiang Mai, of course, and Lana, but also like if you look at Bali, there's a system called the Subak of how we govern the shared water that actually has shown that coordination and public goods of subsistence, like survival, like rice, are actually very possible in history, right? So some of these may be possible for today. So that's idea number 2. And idea number 3 is the idea of like what I call playability. So this starts with the question of what's more important, to win the game and to keep winning, or to have fun. And in some way, we live in, I think the past 10, 15 years have probably been the the greatest age in history of game design, game theory, and game culture. Part of this is technological. The medium of the video game was not possible before the era of the interactive computer. But in turn, developments in video game culture also led to developments in board game culture and other things. And I think this is important for a number of reasons. So let's talk about an example using some games that maybe some of us know. Are you all familiar with Monopoly, the game? Everyone knows Monopoly? Yes?
We have one there.
Okay. Has anyone played Santos of Catan as well? Catan? Okay, so Monopoly, so the history of Monopoly was actually designed not to be a game that was fun to play. It was actually designed as a cautionary tale. It was designed to show people that Monopoly is bad, that only having people own land leads to scenarios where one person owns all the land and then life sucks for everybody except that one person, right? But through history, it became a really popular game, right? But if you play Monopoly, it's really fun when you might still win, which is maybe the first 20-25% of the game. And then after that, the game pretty sucks for everybody else because it's usually played by 30% to the game who's going to win. And then it becomes a runaway dinner, right? So that's Monopoly. And then you have modern games like Catan, where you have systems that actually dynamically balance, right? In Catan, there's a bit of a wealth cap. If you have too many resources and the roll lands on what the game calls the robber, then your wealth is cut down to a certain level. Catan also has mechanisms like if you are trade, a lot of the game happens through trade. Nobody in the early game can have all the different resources evenly, so trade becomes really important. And if players see that one player is too rich, then they are less likely to trade or they charge more. So that creates self-balancing dynamic. And so in Catan, it's unlike Monopoly, where 30% in, you know the game who's going to win, and the rest of it is just a grind. In Catan, often up to like 90%, 95%, it's still unclear who's going to win. And it can change very dramatically. So it's much more interesting and playable as a game. Right? Now, there's also another format that's emerged in the past 20-25 years, partly coming out of the D&D cultural history, which is the legacy format of a game, which is imagine a game where as you play over multiple rounds, the world changes. Right? So so there's a risk legacy, for example, where what happens in year one, somebody conquers all of Asia, can change the board for year two, and so forth. You can play over many years. Right now, if you had to design a game called Monopoly Legacy, right, that would be one of the shittiest games ever. Right? After game one, somebody has all the board, they own everything, and then in game two, everybody else starts with nothing, and you have to play again, and then the person's just gonna win. Right? But that's basically the system we're living in today, right? Where a few people own everything and everyone is expected to function. Right? So we have really crappy kind of like balance in this kind of game. And like and there's another thing about gaming culture that the scenario is that if we have UPI and abundance from technology, people would just stop working. Right. But if you've met a real gamer, you know that people get motivated on the smallest things. Right. There's silly games like clicking on pictures of a cat that got like, I don't know, millions of people in Thailand, Taiwan, and other places to do it. So there's some human kind of like, I think, message for meaning elements to game design that I think we're beginning to uncover and unlock. Right. I think games show us that things like fun, flow, engagement, and meaning can be created out of really simple stuff. And that people who can't read that, but anyway, it's there. So you get an idea, right? There's a need to play that's very human. And people still want to play those games, right? And there's kind of like this almost pleasure activism kind of seductive element to games where people want to play with them. I think I'll switch right for this. Thanks. Okay. So a lot of research shows that putting the politics aside, we actually live in an age of abundance, right? We have the technology to provide more cars than will ever be in history, more food and all that kind of stuff, right? But some people have said this is going to be a problem because life without lack is going to be meaningless, right? But if you come in from a game designer, where even clicking on a cat can become meaningful, right? How would a game designer approach the design of public life and public goods? And how could clever public good design enable this? Right? What do we mean by public goods in games? Right? So in a game, let's say you're playing Farmville, you start with the farm. You don't have to earn the money to buy all and to play the farm game. Right? So in a game, the public goods are basically how you provide players with the stuff they need so that they get to the core of the game. Right? And if you want to do Farmville research for rediscovering regenerative agriculture. One of the best ways to do it, and some countries have done it, like Michelle was saying, is actually give people the public goods where you have access to the land, you want to grow something and play with it, right? So can we game design some of these systems to being by learning from games? Yep, almost done. So a successful playability world solves, I think, what some people call like the theory of change problem, right? You can imagine all these utopian ideas of communism and like everybody is fair, it's simple stuff. But the people in power don't want to go there, right? And I think if you can design a game that's interesting enough, you can actually get the leads to want to switch, right? I was just reading the biography of Elon Musk not too long ago, right? And why is this crazy billionaire still want to be working his ass off on two companies doing all these things, right? And I think on some point, the idea of like he's a gamer or he's a player has a large attraction to it, right? And you see this in some of the elements in games, right? Like if you've played like this massive online worlds like Diablo or Path of Exile, right? You have these seasons, right? So you've become a really successful character. You're the most powerful wizard in the world. You're number one in the world. Why would you give everything up and start again as a newcomer? And that's because the game is its own reward, right? There's something more of about the fun than about being on top, right? You think you create a system that's powerful enough, you may get actually, especially new elites, be more interested in playing that infinitely if they know that also I'll never be out of land to start a farm again, right? This is the idea behind actually bankruptcy laws and like intellectual property, which say that if you give up your property and a patent after a certain time, you can profit from it for a while. Bankruptcy laws about if you fail, you can start again at a certain level, right? And I think these sorts of institutions actually are really important public goods because they allow the kind of play that focuses attention on really important questions. So playability is not gamification, right? There's a trend of gamification, which is about a lot of it is force feeding, right? Like the school wants you to learn this version of history. They're going to try and dress it up with characters and other things to try to make you learn it. Playability is actually saying there's a lot of fun. It's actually really interesting from an infinite game perspective. Science and progress, discovery, invention, creativity, fashion. How do we actually take some of those things and can we game design public goods around it that could do that, right? A society, like if you think about the entire version of the ultimate future, I don't think food is not part of that, right? But food is a solved problem from an utility perspective, right? You can have all the nutrition you need, but food as culture and fun is actually something that's an infinite game, right? People keep on creating different kinds of combinations. So like imagine a society that's all about creating the most crazy food, right? What's the public goods would exist to actually allow the society to try? And we probably have like, like access to ingredients, probably have laboratories, probably have cultures where people just taste different stuff all the time, right? And I think those kinds of public games or societies could actually be really interesting philosophies for how we design stuff in the age of abundance, an age where AI can do all the jobs. What games do people actually want to play? I think it's a really interesting question. Okay, so that's the kind of like the three philosophies I wanted to share today. But if I have a minute, I actually have one sort of like special review or announcement to share, which is that if you enjoyed some of the stuff here about imagining future worlds, Michelle's talking about Edge City Lana later this year. I'm actually planning this thing called the Sipang Festival. And the idea is like, we're at interesting Southeast Asian futures. A lot of the imagination here is like, sometimes it's like it's trickled down from Silicon Valley, right? Thailand wants to have the digital economy that's just like Silicon Valley or something else. But here's a region where we have on the frontiers of climate change and regeneration and religion and culture and all those things. Why isn't it more interesting? And so, like, we have some theory about, like, take Southeast Asian history and humanities and look at work in protocols and social science at Renaissance work and look at new technology and new world design. You can actually come get some really interesting ideas. So it's a quest to discover and imagine interesting worlds and stories together. So maybe we'll write some science fiction out of it, maybe we'll create some new games or different memes and media, right? And the idea is to kind of do it like organize a few days like in Chiang Mai, like towards the later this year. So maybe it dovetails well with some of the stuff that some of us are planning as well. And we'll probably hope to like launch share some of the stories and publish some of that over time. So not officially launched yet, but I think since we're here and since this is on topic, I'm just gonna give you guys a preview of that. Happy to talk about it later for anyone who wants. Okay, that's the real end. Thanks.
Thanks so much.
And we're going to jump into
You're
our next
really-
speaker. So if you have
Hold
any
on.
questions for Sam, grab him in the break. Our next speaker is Shane. He's an Australian IT professional who's called Chiang Mai, Thailand, his home for the past 14 years. Known as the Chiang Mai ambassador, Shane has founded impactful initiatives like Chiang Mai Clean City and Chiang Mai Safe City. Aimed at improving local conditions, he is deeply passionate about community service, cultural exchange, and promoting safety and cleanliness in his adopted home.
Either way, still mention, if you have comments or question, please mention Windows. Yeah, we'll review later. Okay, I will change to, yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank Link for letting me join and letting me say something about my projects in bits and pieces. The first time we met was just a few weeks ago at the pizza event, and as soon as Link heard about the projects that I do and things that I've been doing around Chiang Mai, he said, you've got to come and talk about this at the public goods event. So why do I call myself Chiang Mai ambassador? Because I've been here 14 years and I love Chiang Mai, and I love to tell people about Chiang Mai, and I love to connect people to Chiang Mai and to other people in Chiang Mai and around the world. Special people that have made a place in my heart, and I know are doing good things. And it's really good when I see two people come together and make something happen. Everything I'm about, being a volunteer for the last 14 years, is about trying to make a big impact. And it's very challenging. One of the big things we always have problems with is money. And if you go and talk to any of the government departments, they're always on, oh, I need budget, I need budget, I need budget. And the thing about what I want to do, it involves everyone. It doesn't cost much, and it's very easy to implement the different activities. I know most of us here are definitely in the second group, but are we here to get or to give? Now, this is a question that someone brought up on a podcast that I was listening to a couple of weeks ago, and it was just really about what's inside of us and how we look at the world and why we are here. Over the many years, I've seen and heard about something called CSR, and it was a big topic in the 1980s, 1990s. And it's all about corporate social responsibility. The big companies, they got lots of money and they want to be looking at doing good things to their environment and around the place. And one of the problems that I have is when I've tried to interact with these companies and their CSR teams, it's very difficult to actually get them to do something with a small grassroots organization. And like I've talked to one or two beer companies and beverage companies in Thailand and say, hey, we've got this organization, we've got these activities. Can you help us? Can you do sort of things or making suggestions about something their CSR team could implement? And they basically sort of just ghost you. So it's very frustrating on my part trying to make a big change without having much backing like that. And then now these days we have the ESG and the BCG terms that are going around as well. And yes, they might be talking about all the stuff up here in their dreams, but what I'm talking about is down here and doing stuff on the ground. a second question I have is what motivates you? What gets you up in the morning? And there's 4 different things that we can be looking at. Reward, okay, ideology, coercion, and ego. So let's expand on those a bit. Reward is motivation, usually in form of money. So we wake up every morning, we go to work, and sometimes we're working for the boss, but we're also working to do something good, and we're working for money. Ideology, it's more about doing things because it's what's coming out of inside of us. Coercion, now everyone has probably been coerced into something they didn't really want to do recently. And then ego, doing something to try and get status or things like that. And yeah, the most important one is ideology, and it's coming out of ourselves, what's inside of us. So for me, yeah, I love Chiang Mai. And if you know me, I meet lots of people, I go to lots of events, and wherever I am, I'm always telling people how much I love Chiang Mai, the people, the place. I mean, it's just a beautiful environment for 9 months of the year. And we put up with it for the other 3 months of the year when it's smoky season. But Chiang Mai is a fantastic place. So about 10 years ago, I was working with a group that did cleanup events around Chiang Mai. They would come together, 20, 10, 15 people, go out to a nice place in the country and go and pick up rubbish and take it away. But they weren't being as open and inclusive as I thought they could. So I sort of left that organization a little bit frustrated because what I wanted to do, yeah, make a big impact with a small budget. And so I started Chiang Mai Clean City. Chiang Mai มากที่สุดเชียงใหม่เป็นบ้านเขาอยากอยู่บ้านเชียงใหม่แห่งขยะที่ว่างแล้วก็ขยะเยอะแยะขยะมาจากไหนไม่รู้ทุกอาทิตย์ที่ไหนก็ได้เขาจะทำความสะอาดไม่รู้ผมรู้สึกเศร้าผมอยากทำสิ่งที่ดีสำหรับชีวิตแค่1 ชั่วโมงเก็บตัวเล็กเก็บบอล40 30 กิโลอยากทำอีกครั้งเทศบาลเก็บขยะแบบ300ทุกคนมีเจ้าหน้าที่200 เก็บขยะผมแล้วเราไม่พอเลยผมคิดว่าเป็นผิดชอบทุกๆคนที่เช่นไม่เป็นเทศบาลอย่างเดียวเป็นทุกๆคนไปเก็บขยะเชียงใหม่มันสะอาดแค่เป็นช่วงวัยเป็นเดียวกับทำความสะอาดอยากเห็นทุกๆคนทุกอำเภอทำความสะอาดแค่1 ชั่วโมงทำร่วมกันเก็บขยะแล้วก็แยกขยะด้วยปีละ2-3 ครั้งเพื่อด้วยบรรยากาศที่เช่นผมคิดว่าทุกคนทำได้แค่1 ชั่วโมงเดินไปบ้านแค่50 เมตรบางครั้งเก็บขยะ10 กิโล20 กิโลทุกธุรกิจมีถังขยะแล้วก็ทุกคนทิ้งได้ถ้าไม่มีถังขยะเก็บขยะที่กระเป๋าได้เปลี่ยนคิดเปลี่ยนบรรยากาศที่เชียงใหม่ใครมาท่องเที่ยวไม่ได้ทิ้งขยะเขาจะมาแล้วก็เห็นไม่มีขยะหลังจากนั้น ประเทศไทยเป็นประเทศสามเอาลองแบบนี้ตอนนี้ครับเช่นโรบอทประเทศความต้องการทุกแก้ไขใช่ไหม So this video was put together by the Tesaban of Chiang Mai, the municipality. They came to me and said, "Hey, how would you like to do a video and explain about this?" And so I was like, "Yes, yes, sure, that sounds good." But then, yeah, they said, "Oh, we need to do it in Thai," and so I was like, "Oh, that was 6 years ago." And I think this video has been seen by more than 500,000 people. So yeah, it's been shared around Facebook a lot. And feel free if you go to the Chiang Mai Clean City page, you can share it as well. That would be great. Chiang Mai every year is in an area that gets lots of flooding. Now we're just at the start of rainy season, but by the end of rainy season, we can notice around Chiang Mai that if there is rain, the floods come up a lot quicker. And a lot of that problem is because the trash just gets dropped on the ground, runs off with the rain and into the drains. And the drains, open drains, they get full of plastic, and you just see the drains all over Chiang Mai causing a lot of flooding. When flooding happens, we always use the old sandbags, the plastic bags, put the sand in, but after they're finished with, they just leave them there in many places. And this is down alongside of the river, and you'll see that the plastic just disintegrates after a while. And so that plastic there, the whole world has big problems with plastic in our foods and in our water supplies. And this is one of the main problems. So what we need to do is be using the sandbags for what they need to, and then taking them away and reusing them again next year after looking after them. Parts of Chiang Mai do a really good job with recycling and other things like that. And you will around the city see a few of these, but it's not really proper and well managed recycling structures. So what we really need to do is bring this into the future and making better choices with our recycling. And one of the main ones, like I said before, I talk with these beverage companies, and I see them. They take their beers out to the bars, out to the distribution centers, and they take a full truck out. But when they come back, it's completely empty. And for me, I think a very simple thing, instead of all the beers and empty cartons being recycled in an ad hoc manner and going to a recycling place and going here and going there and going there and then finally getting back to the beer companies, I'd like to see them go out and take the full beer bottles out and then bring the empty bottles back. And so it's direct, the bottles are clean, everything's good, and very simple, without much more effort, no cost, because the truck is going back to where it came from. It just comes back full of empty beer cartons and beer bottles and things like that. And another thing I always see, and it really hurts because it's very easy to pick up one of those Amroy Hassett bottles like that, but they're very thin, and when they break, it's very difficult to pick them up when they're broken. Another problem is, yeah, we have a lot of people. You'll see them driving around late at nights around the city, and they're going around to collect the plastic bottles. and collect their glass and things like that. But when they go around and they're collecting it, they actually only get about 1 or 2 baht for every bottle, every kilogram of bottles. So it's a lot of work, very dangerous, and they're not getting very much baht at all. But for plastic and other things, they can, and cans, they can get between 8 and 20 baht per kilogram. This location here, I have seen change, and it's been very welcome and heartening when you actually see something like this happen. So I was invited by a school to join them on Sunday morning cleanups, Chiang Mai International School, and we went down, and this is a group of students and teachers, and for 2 weeks we picked up rubbish like this every Sunday morning, just 1 or 2 hours, and we picked up probably 500 to 800 kilograms of rubbish. And then the second week up there, and then every week I was taking a video and showing it on Facebook, sending it on Facebook, putting it onto the big Chiang Mai groups in Thai, talking to local people who drive past and ask them, is this a nice place? Is this, do you know who owns this? And all that sort of thing, those questions. And then, so we did this for 2 weeks. And the next week we came out to clean up. And I noticed that there was a whole bunch more construction equipment, and someone had built a house, filled a dump truck full of rubbish, toilets, and other tiles and materials like that. And they came and dumped. So we cleaned up for 2 weeks, and then a truck comes and dumps more rubbish there. And I'm just going, it makes you feel sad. And then the third week we went back and cleaned up. And the fourth week, someone had seen the video. I think the owner of the land. They came with a big machine and basically just 10 meters by 40 meters, just picked up everything that was there. And it was just back to dirt, had a fence out the front. They put their phone number on the board. And then about a month later, I came out and this is what it looked like. No one had put grass seeds there or anything. It just grew. The grass grew like that, rain, all sorts of things. So I'm just like, my heart's beating out of my chest because I was just so happy to see that happen. And it was just amazing. I haven't called them yet because I'm still a little bit scared. For 6 years, I'd been walking past this place every couple of weeks going, oh, it's so bad, so bad. And now it's beautiful and clean. Another problem, and I mean, Chiang Mai is an amazing place, but all the time you hear it's very safe normally, but on the roads, it's not so safe. So I've also picked a small problem in Chiang Mai and Thailand, like Thailand's in the top 10 for accidents and deaths on the roads. So it's yeah, one of the smaller problems we can get involved in. And yeah, this is a picture of the governor and myself, and I'm trying to work with government, police, people, everyone, just to try and make Chiang Mai safer on the roads. And one of the ways we can do that is by wearing helmets. So I'm always a little bit scared when I see people driving, flying past me, not wearing a helmet. So I really want to use the social good, the social credit that I've built up with Chiang Mai Clean City over 5 or 6 years to be helping with reducing the road toll. And what I want people to understand really is I want to ask them how much they think they're worth. Now, so many people oh, I get 300 baht a day. Oh, I get 500 baht a day. And so that's what they think they're worth. And I want to tell them that they're worth more than that. And I don't know. Does anyone know how much a human body is worth? It's actually worth about 10 million baht. All the stuff and chemicals in your body, it's actually a lot more than that. But I just say, do you think you're worth 10 million baht? Is it worthwhile for you to put a helmet on your head to maybe save someone looking after you for 20 years or 30 years or 100 years when you hurt yourself and you can't do anything anymore? So it's definitely worthwhile to wear a helmet when you're driving in Chiang Mai. Another problem we have in Chiang Mai is sometimes people don't look after their vehicles and they're driving around at night times and they don't have any lights on their back. And it's so dangerous when you can't see someone and then just bang straight in front of you. Now, if I was driving drunk late at night and someone came out with no lights or anything like that, I can't see them, bang. I'm drunk, I've hit someone, I may have killed someone, I may have, and that's going to create a whole lot of stress and strain. So I really try, just very simply say to people, for 15 seconds, you can actually check your own lights. You can just turn the bike on or ask a friend, just pull the levers, pull the brakes, and just see if your lights are working. And many people around don't have tax or don't have license plates you can see, and they're actually for safety, not just so that we can say, oh, this is your vehicle or that's your vehicle. If you have tax and you get in an accident and go to a hospital, the tax that you pay and the insurance actually covers you for some medical emergencies up to like 30,000 baht. So it can at least help a little bit if you've got something broken. And another problem, old cars on the road. Old cars generally not well maintained, that sort of thing. It can be very, very dangerous. And yeah, vehicles like this, they're not safe. If they do have an accident, they can cause more problems. Also, around Chiang Mai, you'll see a lot of cars that they just left sitting on the roads, and these cause more problems than just sitting there. But yeah, I'm trying to get them removed from the streets. Now, for me, it's been good that people actually see my videos, see other things like that, and being able to get recognized by the government and that sort of thing. But I don't really do it for that, because what I want, even if one life is saved on the road, or we see that Chiang Mai is a much more beautiful place because it's all clean, what I'd like to do is eventually, in the end, see that all Thailand is clean and take the different activities I'm doing around to the rest of Thailand as well. And this is a bit of Thai, and it basically says, "Rao Tam Pam Di Doi Hojai." We do these activities because it comes from our heart, and everything I'm about is just trying to make things better and trying to make things more beautiful for everyone. And a lot of the people I see around talking about all those ECGs, BCGs, CSR, then they're just doing lots of talking. And I want to be a doer. And I know we've got a lot of doers here in the room as well. So thank you very much.
You're a super unique one, like doing the real things in the physical society and try to make Chiang Mai a better city. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. And For the people sitting in the pads and in the sofa, if you feel tired or something, you can talk with each other. I think it's reasonable to change seat because like sitting in the pads for 6 hours is insane. So if you're tired, you can ask each other for like can change the seat. So yeah, and wow, let's come to Leo, our best friend. Let me change the slides. Yeah. Okay. So, oh, Leo is our Infosys best friend. Yeah. Yeah. And Leo is the first guy I ever met as a community contributor in Chiang Mai. And they did some amazing things and in the past and now. So I will let Leo himself to introduce. Yeah. Okay. And he was he works with a PSE team, which is a ZK team of the Ethereum Foundation, and bring the valuable insights and contributions to the Ethereum ecosystem. And Leo's involvement in the local and global blockchain communities highlight his dedication and advancing the technology and fostering meaningful connections. So let's welcome Leo. Okay. Presentation center.
Yes. Yeah, switch. Also photo taken by Shishi, you know?
Shishi.
Yeah, Shishi took that photo.
Yeah.
Gmail?
Oh, in
Check your Gmail.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So wait a moment.
Yeah, check your email. I said it with you.
It's so fun. Yeah, yes. And this, if you need, or I can help you.
Okay, just let me, but I have too many things, but we'll try to go. Hi, everyone. I'm a bit nervous because it's I usually do very like technical talks about the tech stuff I work on, and yeah, good for the. Okay, thank you. So I usually do like very technical talks about the stuff. I don't like to talk about myself, but I thought it was my birthday a few days ago, so it was kind of remembering and recapitulating all my life and what led me to the projects I'm working on now. And yeah, I wanted to share kind of the things I think I have learned humbly, really, that perhaps if you're doing a public good, might help you. Not you, that's it. So really, I started coding when I was 8 years old on my Commodore 64. Let me see the notes. Yes. Yeah, so there are the two things that have been really obsessed all my life, kind of computers and entrepreneurship. Computers were easier, much easier. Like it has taken me really a long time to get better at entrepreneurship. I was an analytical guy and kind of became much harder for these things. And this is always been doing things. This is in the local newspaper. It's studying so with the helping to study so the high school. And the title means against the empire of Bill Gates. You know, journalists. They make this title. So is trying to things like entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship that I think is the most fun type of entrepreneurship also because it's kind of entrepreneurship without ingredients. Then I studied in the University of Bath. This is the professor that taught me about compilers. It's now very useful in my job. It's John Finch, an awesome guy. And then I went to Atari. I also was kind of like being a different side because I was working on server software. ARM servers were kind of crazy idea. No, that's a lot. Like always thinking crazy why. Like I think I'm going to get into like starting things. For good or for things, it's kind of a bit of always make people think you're crazy. This is then I did a startup and I showed you the profit startup of new places. It's me and in the Portuguese newspaper we did this one and I sold it to Topical Fund, this fund from London. This was an amazing also experience. I made many mistakes. But I mean, it didn't work out, but yeah, like I received many like this through this process and kind of like my first real kind of real project, the stage where yeah. And now yeah, I'm working on the foundation as Link was talking about price scaling exploration. So I'm talking from my own personal point of view, not any of these institutions, of course. Also, the relationship side of the foundation that is like the best job I ever had. So kind of started pushing for this next generation zero knowledge language pilots. Yeah, that. And then I created started like more than a year ago. I think named the idea here. It's like at this same location, started talking about Ifatari, the same community of Thailand. That the beginning was being called Ifcham, like
It's a
like
chunk.
for the beer, but because we found it more funny, but actually trying to Ifatari. So
We have Isalio.
so I love that the time. So yeah, so now it's actually more one of my goals was to get people involved. Actually, now it's the Thai manager that is going to and now creating some of the people is not direct, but because the fire announcement doesn't become on yet, I don't yet because we are so I decided to some ideas that has led me to how big design. Yeah. So from this history, what I've learned, I think that the most important thing in the world is time. Like if you understand time, if you manage yourself, well, is that's going to help you tremendously. It's difficult. It's difficult to explain. Like thinking about the past and kind of finding what you are doing, kind of like signals and comparisons and kind of understanding the past. And and then like the present is about situational awareness and understanding. And for me, the most vital part is kind of, I think I love it. One thing that started making change and doing a lot of these things is not really good. It's probably good. It's probably one of the so things.
Uh-huh.
Thanks. So one of the richest persons in the world, like this quote from this versus kind of have been one of the most influential things in my life. If you are thinking short term, you're really competing with a lot of people, doing things that are not really interesting. If you are thinking, you have a tremendous advantage to achieve what you want. That's the And I think that's kind of the biggest reason that I wanted to speak here, like the difference between short-term thinking and long-term thinking. And that's like super, super, super rare in blockchain. It's we think like so many people are thinking about the next thing that is going to get to the level of Ethereum instead of thinking how it's going to be in 10, 20, 50 years. Because I think it's going to take. I think it's going to take, it's going to make the basis of a lot of things. And it's not the only thing in the world. It's going to be the basis of a lot of things. And that's much more impactful. In the end, like people end up trying to find the next thing that is going to get now to the level of thinking. And then shitcoins, scams, things. So for me, that's the kind of the most important thing about time. That is the kind of like define everything. Time is our lives. Time is money. Time is happiness. Time is sorrow. Time is everything. It's the most important dimension. I think it's just also sometimes also time like people don't appreciate like how early we are on a theme. Like people like things social terms sometimes that they think that they cannot see the perspective and they feel like if they get too early on to something, yeah, that's where we want to be. If they are early on something, they cannot believe them. And, and yeah, and they make mistakes because of that. We are really early on. So that's why I decided a couple of years ago, switch my career. We are in mind, very, very that's something that's respect. Yeah, that's there are so many lessons that actually connected to times. Things that are said like oops, that are connected to time. Like vision, the authentic, like deep fake is a short term game. Can become full for some time. If you are really being authentic, you are playing the term game. Things that I don't achieve. So that's also the logic. Like so much payments, so much who comes from because they're working hard at things. They could be working as hard. And that's also like the business advice that fake it until you make it. Being in the direction of time. And you see that everywhere is, oh my God. Anyone that is they see so quickly when taking them to so how do you transform reality? So I think if we can make that they you are being genuine, and you are really playing. And I think something that it's amazing like when you're younger, the kind of things that are really more than really real, kind of seem like religious or mystical. It's really a very easy that we are a record of our future. Like, we tend to think our mind kind of as a record of our past, like alignment that we store our past in our memories, but we are actually also a record. Like the next word to say is produced by me, the next one, the next direction, next. So actually, in some way, it's already recorded it. By changing, you change the future. And that's a powerful thing that if you think about it, it's obvious how, but it's kind of so. And then there is this thing, there is this pattern, I think is very famous, that is also related to time, so the thinking, like think authentically how helping others is going to help you and to help genuinely. That's really I have a problem with this. That's you can go through it, but not really like there is if you take effort in think about it, how actually not in a actually helping this is going to kind of create a scenario it's kind of also kind of propose. You are kind of always looking for things. The about thinking but people that are not helping each other, they can only end up working with things. So if you want to be smart people, you have to so think like if you want to be honest, actually pushing yourself to only but that's yeah, I was kind of like peaceful garden. We are doing it 13th of September, 10th of November. Now, this repeated a bit like how we are different. And I cannot give like maybe like a lot of details about what's going to happen here. But what how's different? We are really like this vision of the past. In the 17th century, there was this invisible college, the UK academics, talking about science that were really edge with a really particular rules of effects. And we can see a scene between them and us, what is going to become the Cambridge and the Oxford, the infinite guide. Yeah, okay, how it's like the situation, but we need to kind of like institutions of high education for this the future for this. that's kind of the conclusion. Is that we So we are led by tax experts and entrepreneurial. It's many hackathons and things like that. But business, that's kind of like a game, shop the game. We are kind of governed already the people, engineers, academics. That we kind of you have people, we actually have to